Give me just a moment, excuse me, as I set up the chat. And get my iPad that I'm going to monitor the stream on going. Actually signing into my other account. My personal account is where I usually monitor the stream from. Set that to live chat. If you are in the stream, and I just realized I'm going to have to do that different, but if you are in the stream, say hello. Let me know that you can hear me okay. I have this old iPad I usually do this on, or monitor the stream on, but I can't do that today because that's where all my photos are at that I'm going to be cropping and watermarking for listings to get up on the website and on eBay. Mentioned that before, that all of our listings go through our website where I have affiliate links to eBay. eBay pays me a commission. And there are we also use Amazon affiliate links on the website. I've got a iced coffee, iced decaf. When it got cold a while ago and was almost gone, then I just added a little bit of almond milk and ice. Alright, so I'm going to get the live stream up on okay, there we go. Now I can get my photos up over here. But I will keep checking on the live stream over here on the live chat, I should say. So you guys let me know who's here, where you're from, what you're up to today. If you got a cup of coffee, cup of decaf. Not sure about the camera angle I got here, or also my ability to keep from bumping into it. So we'll see. Oh, well, I guess I cropped all the photos one day last week. I ended up, the last time we had a live stream, I was getting ready to take photos of the Craftsman Tri-Light pipe lighter. That lighter looks brand new to me. Also this Crestcraft branded advertiser with the enameled emblem of the state of Oklahoma. I believe that lighter is made by Park Industries. Everything about it says Park Industries except for the name on the bottom of the lighter. And then we've got this other one marked DG or D and Company. I know we've talked about this on streams before. That's the marking on that screw, which I can hardly make out from here. Kind of a bad angle to be showing you from a camera onto another iPad, but 801 is the number, and then D and it switches orientation on me. But I've already got all those. Don't have boxes for these lighters or anything. So for these three, it'll just be 12 photos a piece. So use a free program, Easy Watermark. It's really only the downside to this program, except for the fact that it's not loading. The really only downside to this program is that the free version will only allow you to watermark 5 photos at a time. But it does allow you to create templates, which I've got a bunch of templates created, and I've also learned a trick or two since I started doing this. I think this is the last one I was using. So I've created so many templates because I would need different watermarks in different areas, but I finally figured out how to do a watermark to where I could kind of move it around, and also to make it somewhat transparent, so if it does go over the image, that it's not really obscuring anything that is going to, take away from what you're trying to accomplish by including a photo in the first place. That seems like legitimate. It almost seems like spam or something, but because it's coming up in here, that seems like a legitimate warning. Whatever. I'm not really trying to put these watermarks right over the middle of my images though, so I usually edit them. And then I can move it. So that's better for me. I don't really want it to be over the lighter at all. Then I'll just apply it to that and move it on each one because it's somewhat different. So I mentioned the other day in the stream that taking the photos where I'm not sure if I can do this. Won't change orientation, so I guess I can. But that I don't enjoy taking photos. That's the part of the job that I really dislike. But it's pretty much the same thing with the watermarking, the cropping. At least with the cropping and the watermarking, I can do that in batches. I can do that as I'm doing other things or listening to other things, where the actual taking of the photos, it's hard to do that while you're doing something else. So I don't really have a set strategy for where I place these watermarks. I just want to make sure, like I said, that I'm not putting them in a place that is going to obscure the photo to, or the image, the lighter, ashtray, whatever it is that I'm watermarking. I don't want to obscure that, or to the point at least that it's going to make you wonder why I included it in the first place. I'm really just trying to do it as quickly as possible to where it's not real easy for somebody to snatch this photo and not give me credit for it. That's all. So then I save it. So that's pretty much 5 at a time, and I include 12 with each listing. So that tells you something about the monotony involved. I am going to go grab a couple lighters here, though, that I want to talk about, depending on who stops by with us. Hello, Naphtha. Glad to have you with us. How are things in Tulsa? Mark Burris, glad to have you with us, my friend. And Mark Rosenthal. Very nice. Were you talking about one of the lighters in the photos, Mike? I'll be back. I'm going to keep watermarking some photos so I can get some of these lighters listed here in a little bit. But I'm also going to grab a couple things real quick. Mark, I know I brought up last time the Ronsonol bottles. I think I've got 4 of the big ones. Did you say you wanted, I know I've got 1 small one. Do you want the small one too? Next time I have some stuff to mail, I'll try to get that all together and mail those off to you. But I couldn't remember if you said you wanted the small ones or not. Naphtha says it's getting quite chilly in Tulsa. Snowed a little bit the other day. Yep, snowed a little bit here over the weekend. Actually, late Saturday afternoon. And enough that it was pretty much iced over here yesterday morning. Yeah, so winter was slow to hit, but once it did, man, we've definitely got our fill of it. And now we're going to get it again, it looks like. Well, maybe Tuesday morning, I think. I'm sure I'm going to hit that camera sooner or later. Okay, so yeah, you do want the big one or the small one too? Cold as polar bear. Yeah, that's pretty cold, Mark. I can only imagine. Okay, Mike says he bought a beautiful Thorn style lighter, semi-auto ejection from Thorns. It was a replica. He bought it off of eBay. What do you think of it, Mark or Mike? We talked about those last week. That reminds me, I can't remember if I ever pulled out that lighter that I bought years ago. that I think was made in that same factory. But we talked about those. We were talking about the Cygnus replicas. Well, I thought I might have it handy, but I don't. I got lighters strewn everywhere. Mike says he loves it. Wish I could send you a picture. Well, you can post a picture, Mike, over here on, are you on Facebook? If you're on Facebook, go to, type in dependableflame.com. You'll find a group and a page. You want to go to the group. Join the group. There's a little over 1,100 people in the group now, 1,138. Some really prominent lighter people in the group, and plenty of people to answer questions when you have them. But you can post a picture right there and we can see exactly what you're talking about. Mike says that he's an old soul, uses old safety razors, sharpens them himself, writes with fountain pens, rolls his own cigarettes, and uses old lighters. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, man. I've certainly rolled a few cigarettes of my own, packed a lot of cones recently. I don't smoke tobacco, but I smoke other medical products from time to time. More so use concentrates these days, so I use torch lighters. So it's not really my specialty. I'm always looking for somebody who can help me out with how to get my butane lighter to work a little better. But what we do here on this channel is, of course, petrol lighters. And I get the opportunity to light up with my petrol lighters occasionally, but not quite like I would like to. But that's all right. The concentrates are great. I got too much stuff going on here and I'm losing focus with what I got where. Yeah, it is interesting. I've written a little bit about that on the website. Nobody really wants to repair anything anymore. It's just, everything's disposable. Plastic. So much, even all my tools here, they all got plastic handles. And I guess that's fine, for what it's worth, but when it comes to machines built out of plastic, lighters built out of plastic, some of these old IMCO lighters we've talked about, and the 1954 lighter repair manual talked about these kind of lighters, said they weren't really worth repairing because they were easier just to buy a new one, but you can't buy a new one nowadays. You can, but it's not made in Austria like it used to. Now it's made in China, maybe Hong Kong, maybe in that same lighter factory we've been talking about. I don't know. I don't remember what it was. Oh, but this one, you see, it's got rivets, so it's more difficult to take apart, things like that. Most lighters are a little bit easier. Or or at least most old lighters. You take a Zippo, which for the most part has been the same since the early 1930s, mid 1930s, depending on who you ask about the exact date. Some say 1932, others say 33 or 34. But you know, it's all metal parts. Got some rubber on this one, but it's not necessary. Just replaced our felt pad. But you know, it's one thing to have a metal lighter that you can't work on because of rivets, or add some rubber or plastic parts to your metal lighter to make it work better, than to have just a plastic lighter that you can't do anything with to fix. And that's basically what it comes to these days. I'm not going to go get them because I'm tired of dragging them out here, but I've got a pile of plastic butane lighters in there that at a certain point, at least on the price level that I'm willing to pay for a butane lighter, except for the jet lights, which still got a few of the jet lights that will refill and work like they should. But all those other plastic ones, they eventually fail. I mean, I've bought dozens of them at this point. I would love for somebody to turn me on to an affordable, well-designed, well-operating butane lighter that you can refill multiple times without it failing. And the jet lights are pretty good at that, but eventually, I mean, I think I've got about 8 of those and only about 3 of them that are still working. I'll make a video on that at some point, see if we can purge them all and get any of them to start working again. Maybe. But $6 jet lights are the best thing I've come up with so far. Mark says they got a lot of flood damage but didn't have to deal with the tornadoes. Glad to hear that. Yeah, Mike, it is a fun hobby. It's really doesn't seem like there's any end to it. I know there is, but there are so many different mechanisms, and I'm still relatively new to this hobby myself. I started sometime in 2016 or 2017 when I got the first lighter. I put the website up in, I believe, the fall of 2017. That's when I started dependableflame.com. Started the YouTube channel then in the summer of 2018. I believe July of 2018. And it's awesome, you know, it's one of those things where it just gives you an endless supply of really enjoyable projects to do. And there's frustration along the way, but the reward that you get from taking one of these old lighters and taking the wick out of it, putting a new wick in it, parts lighter here, 2 different designs of a Pan Am Airlines advertisers, different tones too. But there's always projects. Most old lighters have old degraded flint stuck in the tube that needs to be dealt with, and that can be a source of frustration. But as you do more of them and you learn a trick or two, get a little bit of experience here or there, the projects can become a little more fun than mundane or bothersome. But there still are, you know, it's not a whole lot of fun to me to sit there for an hour pulling string out of a Ronson crown or whatever other kind of wadding might be in there. It gets old, some of these projects. Can't remember whether we have published the regular full-length video for this lighter yet or not, but I really love this one right now. Definitely one of my favorites. The artwork, it's been used. I cleaned it up. There was a lot of soot build up, spilling over into this area. I took some pictures for that video, whether I published that or not, I can't remember. Really cool one though. Catch back up here on the chat and then I'll watermark some more photos. Yeah, there's all kinds of things, like Mark points out, knives, other old tools, you know, Leatherman, all kinds of things you can work on. Some people fix old radios or televisions or, you know, all kinds of elaborate tools and appliances. You notice your Zippo doesn't like to work in the winter. Well, I'd say I have more of a problem in the winter time, but depending on what kind of insert you got in your Zippo mic, I would think that in cooler temperatures, your Zippo petrol lighter is going to evaporate less fuel, but in cooler temperatures, especially much cooler temperatures, and I don't know how cold you got to get. I don't know if it's got to be, I don't think it's got to be below freezing, but I could be wrong. Maybe there is, maybe it is below freezing. I can't remember. Whatever the temperature is, though, there's a temperature at which your butane lighter is basically going to become ineffective. And I'm also a little bit, I should mention this because I've been using this as my main heating of the dab straw lighter here lately. It can run out of fuel pretty quick. It's hard to know when it's full of fuel because there is no indicator or anything like that. But this is probably a better insert and has a little bit better life than I initially thought. A little bit better fuel efficiency than I thought. And it's definitely every bit of the lighter that you need. A little bit too much, but not overkill. It's just you're able to get your dab straw good and hot, good and glowing with that double torch butane insert. Well, yeah, I don't know. I never really, I haven't spent a whole lot of time out in the cold since I started using Zippo lighters. I used to hunt a lot, spent a lot of time out in the cold every year. But here lately, my time in the cold has been limited. Can't even get anybody to take a walk in the wintertime. You can see after we cut down that wick, which you've probably seen videos on, after Lazy Eddie asked us about it last Tuesday, I believe, we cut down that wick, which dramatically cut down the size of the flame. So that is one thing that you can do to adjust the wick on a Zippo petrol lighter. I also had somebody comment on the that video and say that pushing the wick toward the file wheel will cut down the size of your flame. And I've heard that before too. I believe in that video at one point I pushed the wick away from the file wheel because I was wondering if that file wheel was affecting, or it was what was causing it to have that sort of hollow flame effect. Does that make sense to you guys when I say that hollow flame effect? Almost looks like it's only half there now. Just the left side. You can hardly see the right side at all. So it's even more pronounced than it was the other day when I made that video. So yeah, Mike, I've never really noticed that, but I haven't used my lighter in a lot of extreme conditions. Live in an apartment in Deep Deuce, downtown Oklahoma City for the last few years, and I do look forward to going hunting again at some point and being able to use lighters outdoors, but it just hadn't been an issue. Hadn't had the opportunity. Naphtha says, yeah, with the colder weather, butane doesn't have as much pressure. It actually liquefies at the same temperature water freezes. So when it's super cold, I like to use petrol lighters because they're pressureless. Yeah. I don't know if it freaks me out. It's I'm afraid I'm gonna smell up all my lighters, Mark. That's all. I need to try it out though. Trying to remember though, my dad did all the cooking when I was a kid, when we would go hunting. And it wasn't always my dad, my grandfather too. The brothers would cook, but the stove that we used was my dad's, and it was a Coleman stove that, you know, you poured that liquid fuel into the big red thing on the front of it, and can't remember how many burners it had. Had at least 2, maybe 3. But that's what, I mean, even we used that all the way up into the 2000s. It's been a while. I believe it's still over in my mother's garage. But Mark says the Coleman fuel by the gallon works great. Just funnel it into empty bottles. Those Naphtha also says those double torch inserts are great at heating up glass or even titanium tips. They just run out of fuel after a few blasts, with it only holding 0.9 grams of butane. Is that how much it holds? 0.9 grams. You know, most days, like yesterday, it was cold outside. We stayed in all day, and so I was using it quite a bit. I actually filled it up twice, but most days it'll actually make it through the night. So like if I just make sure it's fueled up in the afternoon, then I won't have to worry about it that evening. But I also always have a jet light fueled up as well, because if I have both of them, then one of them goes out, it's okay. I can go fill up the other one when I have the opportunity, still use the other one. Where if I don't have 2 of them full, then they both run out at the same time, then you know, I get looked at like I'm the guy that sells lighters and can't even keep a lighter working. So even, she doesn't care that I don't sell butane lighters or work on butane lighters. She only wants them to work. So these are the two that I've been using the most here lately. That and of course a propane torch, which is definitely at least a little bit of overkill. But I didn't know that they only held 0.9 grams. I didn't know how much they held. Tell me about yours, NAFTA. I cannot get it to work. You can see that the flame adjustment will go all the way that far up and then that far down. So it's about a half a turn. But I can only get mine to light if you take it all the way up and then just barely back it off. You back it off any more than that, it may light initially, but then it'll start having problems. Or maybe not. Maybe that is. You know, it won't light at all. So, just gave me false hope is all. But again, if we turn it all the way up and then just down, then we get a usable flame that not sure why it's acting so weird on me. Maybe it's about out of fuel again. So here I start praising it in the live stream and it starts acting up. We'll try it again here in a minute. Mark says, how do you clean the flint residue out of the Zippo soft flame insert? It's bound to clog one up, right? You know, I'm sure it does, Mark, and I haven't cleaned it, and it might help if I did. I left mine in a garment or something yesterday, so I'll have to, I can't even find it to talk about it. But, you know, you might use an old toothbrush, probably too big. Maybe pipe cleaners. Maybe go to the grocery store, or not the grocery store, like the department store. And like the brushes that they make to clean baby bottles. Probably you can find on Amazon some strange shaped, oddly fit brushes. Maybe on the end of wires, thick wires, kind of like come along with some cups to clean out the tube or the straw of the cup. Anybody having coffee or another drink while we're here today? I really do believe, Mark, that yes, I think those do get pretty dirty, and I think that's one reason why mine is at best a 2 out of every 5 strike lighter. I think it needs to be cleaned. And I'll also say it didn't take it very long to get dirty. Talking about the soft yellow flame. So NAFTA, you're saying that you went in and changed something and made it to where you did have use of the entire range? I tried doing something like that on my single flame and it never worked again. But I am interested in whatever, was that the ZF77 video? The same as the single flame, or? Any of you guys got any experience watermarking anything? Have to do it for your job or anything like that? Doing it this way is not the worst thing. Definitely slower ways of doing it. And I've done it a few different ways. Sometimes I just change it because I don't like it. That one would have worked just fine. It wasn't on anything, but I think it'll look better up here. And also maybe straighter. But if any of you have experienced watermarking stuff or do it on a regular basis, I'd be interested in. This is the easiest thing I've come up with out of a free tool, but there's got to be easier ways, better ways of doing it. But if you're looking for a free tool, and they don't pay me or anything like that, it's just me, something I've downloaded from the App Store. But this Easy Watermark, the free version of it, for a free app, it works pretty good. Yeah. Anybody else? I saw somebody brought up ZF77's camel hair video. Did anybody watch that video? Using camel, is that actual camel hair that he's using for wadding? The other good thing about doing it this way, where I'm adjusting the watermark on each image, is I don't have to keep it to just doing them 5 at a time, and once I get down to the end of this slider, I can go ahead and move to the next slider. Keep doing them in 5s. It doesn't matter if I keep it all together or not. Some of the other ways I've done it, that actually mattered. That was right, wasn't it? No, that was not right. There was 5, there was 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm giving you guys a little bit of an idea of the monotony. Of course, it's not all that bad. I can typically, I'm not listening or not doing a live stream, then I'll listen to some music while I'm doing this. So listen to a podcast. Hey Friedrich, glad to have you with us today, my friend. You ordered some camel hair, huh? All right, well you have to let me know how that goes. Does he have more than one video? Because I know we were talking about that last week, and I think that was Tuesday last week when I did the live stream, and when I was on YouTube yesterday or earlier this morning, it said that the camel hair video I saw was only 2 days old. So, do you have more than one camel hair video? Wool waste. So when you said wool, you meant wool waste. And I'm almost afraid to ask, but what do you mean by wool waste? Does that have vestiges of the upper layers of skin mixed in it, or what is wool waste? Sheep, lamb, or camel? It will be. So a camel has hair similar to a sheep, similar to wool. I didn't realize that. I would have thought that a camel was, well, at least wool. When you see it on a sheep, it looks soft. Where a camel, I guess part of it is, huh? Is it just part of it? Camel part slick haired, part of it, that wool material you're talking about? I'm probably sounding really ignorant right now. But he was saying, be it sheep, lamb, or camel, it will be superior product when the natural oil is removed. It will be very sponge-like in absorbing the fuel for long-term storage. I just saw the one video he posted so far. Friedrich says, no, waste product off the floor of weaving loom sheets of wool fabric or trimming. Okay. So, why am I drawing a blank? We're talking about shake, basically. The wool version of shake. Like lint from a dryer. Yeah, there you go. Makes sense. So one thing I don't like about this app is that it won't work with it in the horizontal position. So I can't just stand it up. I gotta hold it up. Some of these ads are unbelievably long. One here, that one wasn't too bad. It's also confusing how you get out of some of these ads. It's not usually that difficult. Yeah, that sounds familiar, Friedrich. I have found some stuff like that in some lighters. You also see some wicks with some weird coloration like that sometimes. A weird thread running through them. I always wondered if that was done for identification purposes. And so you say they've got a process by which they get rid of all the actual natural animal oils. Well, that sounds a little bit cleaner than what it really sounds like when I first hear camel hair. Camel hair sounds incredibly dirty to me. And my daughter and son-in-law they got a couple of dogs, but one of them, a Great Dane, that dog is so big, and even just petting that dog, it's like an incredible amount of oil comes off in your hand. I don't know. I don't know, something about how the size of the dog. Smaller dog isn't as bad, and she's not even a small dog. She's just not as big as the Great Dane. Okay, so we're done with 2 of the 3 lighters. Friedrich says he thinks the process is akin to the treatment used on horsehair when they used to stuff cushions and mattresses with it. Yeah, they also used to make dartboards out of it. Yeah, I guess there's plenty of ways. They've been using, just like Ted Ballard was so eager to educate me on the first time that I went up and visited him at the National Lighter Museum in Guthrie, Oklahoma, about the fuel that was used for the most primitive lamps and lighters, that if they didn't have well blubber, they would use other blubber. According to Ted, even human blubber or human fat. And that in certain circumstances, I don't remember exactly the quote, but something about that body being worth more dead than alive. because of what they could do with it. Very dire and dirty sounding stuff. But, you know, you need fuel for your lighter or your lights. And I don't think Ted was advocating murder or anything like that. It wasn't anything. I think it was more that when there was a body that needed to be dealt with, that maybe that was a way that they dealt with it. But again, that was Ted Ballard's story, not mine. Same man that looked around the place for 15 minutes trying to locate it and then found it. Held his hand out for me to take it. As soon as I did, he petrified human scrotum. Purportedly given to him, or maybe even sold to him, I don't know, from a widow in Texas whose husband had brought it back from, not what war, can't remember, maybe World War II, but it was a tobacco pouch that had been made out of a tanned human scrotum. I'm not joking about that. The man had human scrotum in my hand. Mark says our little dog's coat would get so dry we had to feed them coconut oil in small amounts and rub it into their fur. Friedrich says Ted is very correct in that. The Victorian area was very dire. Yep, human fat. That one got a little small. I need to spread that one out a little bit more. You can see why that would get boring waiting on those ads. Yeah, human fat. It's definitely not the world we live in today, or at least not this world, these United States and most of the world that we're aware of. I'm sure that there are plenty places in the world that are still dire and just existing is a struggle. But that's definitely not the Western world today. It's not the world I live in. I get confused here sometimes as I go, so I have to look at least it shows me the last ones I did here, so then I'll know, okay, I've done 5. So I start with the second 5 from that group. So there's 5, there's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would leave me with 2 more typically, but I took extra photos on that one, so I'm going to have to make a decision. So we're going to have this and one more batch, and then, well, oh, wait a minute, no, that'll be 15. So maybe that's exactly the right amount. I do them in groups of 3, that way when I go to my website, let me go ahead and do that. I'll just show you. So that when you go to my website and I include these in listings, I'm not sure if this, depending on the last time I went to this page, sometimes I got to refresh it. see it lists, it shows them in columns of 3. So and since eBay will let you include 24, then I typically now will include everything on eBay. Used to, eBay would only do 12, so sometimes I would do 12 on eBay, and then it would be 15, 18, whatever, increments of 3 here on the website. So anyway, that's where all these photos are headed, are to be located here on the website. And I mentioned the affiliate links, which you click any of these links from my website over to eBay and then make a qualifying purchase, then eBay is going to pay me a commission. But these are my actual lighters on this page. I use other, like, look over here or search wick, written an article about wicks. And in that article, let's see, what kind of wick should I use? See my affiliate disclosure here. I'm telling you that I earn a commission if you make a quality purchase through these links. But I've also got links to eBay, purchase things off eBay. So there's other kinds of affiliate links, but those on that particular page that we were talking about there, these are my lighters. I'm just serving those onto this page through those links. And YouTube, of course, the pictures that you've seen me taking, and any of those pictures you can click on, and then you get the full detail, the whole photo, where on the listing page you've just got a thumbnail. And there you see my watermark, which is what we were doing over in that other app. I don't know if that's interesting to anybody or not, but that's what I'm doing today. Buffalo scrotum as tobacco pouches. Yeah, well, that probably, you know, real cool. Doesn't sound like something I'd want to carry around in my pocket, but at least it makes sense. You know, everybody's worn leather at some point on their feet, or jacket or belt or something, but different, and especially human scrotum leather. But I got you. So you're saying they build such sturdy graves so people don't break in and steal the stuff that is now worthless to them, that they might be buried with? It is a stark world. And certainly has been much more so at different periods of time. Yeah, no doubt about that. Friedrich says that, and usually in the area, the rich were a tad more corpulent than the poor as well. Yeah, it's crazy. I've been reading, or not reading right now, it's about intermittent fasting, but it talks about how we eat here in the West, and we grew up being told 3 meals, and then over time they've told you, now you should eat smaller portions throughout the day, and I don't know exactly what the truth is, what the best thing for us is, but there are a lot of people in America who basically have diseases because of what they eat. So think I got distracted before I finished that last batch. And it started me over, so. Five, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do any of you guys take pictures of your lighters for like the purposes of cataloging your collections, or I'm trying to think of Mark Fried. Now OLARP, he just joined us. I know OLARP. He's got plenty of pictures and has posted them. He joined at the right time, just the perfect time, my friend. OLARP has posted tons of his pictures over on the DependableFlame.com Facebook group, and I appreciate that. But I wonder how many others of you do the same thing as far as take the pictures. NAFTA, I don't remember NAFTA ever posting pictures. Mike Rosenthal, I can't know. We talked about you, but you were asking me where to post a picture. So as far as those of you who have been here regulars today, NAFTA, Mark, Friedrich, Mike, somebody else, and OLARP. Do any, obviously OLARP does, but do any of the rest of you guys, I don't remember seeing Mark, Mike, NAFTA. I don't remember seeing you guys post pictures. Friedrich, I don't remember seeing any of you guys post pictures in any of the groups. Do you take pictures for any purpose? Do you have them for your own cataloging purposes? I think I may have had my head to the back of that camera, or the back of my head to the camera a moment ago. I apologize if that happens. Just trying to give a little bit wider view of what we got here in front of us and what I'm doing. Published a short since we started this live stream. That was set. We've got one. I don't have tomorrow's set yet. I've got plenty of videos that have been recorded. It's just the editing. But you should be able to expect a short every day at noon, a full-length video on Saturday, and perhaps another day during the week each week, but at least one on Saturday, and then the short every day at noon, every weekday at noon. OLARP, you really ought to think about creating your own YouTube channel. As many cool lighters as you got to show off. And you know, the cool thing about it is, you know, there are plenty of different people that make vintage lighter content, and some of them very successful at it. Jad, who does Eastwad du Flan, who was with us the last time we all got together. It's very intricately planned out and timed videos. So many different layers of not only the way that the lighter is being shown, but then the music, the pattern, or whatever other information he may be showing off. And you know, he has a certain way of telling the story the way he does. But not everybody's like that. Everybody's got their own style. You know, some are more polished, some are, you know, a little bit more rudimentary or elementary. And, you know, some people put their face on the camera, some don't. You can do it all kinds of ways. So I would just encourage all of you, especially those that have plenty of lighters to show off. It's one thing I run into every now and then. You know, I'm mainly a seller, not a collector. So there are times where I literally will run short on things to make videos about. It's like I need to buy some more lighters. Where some of you guys have so many lighters in your collection, you would hardly ever run out of lighters to make videos on. Okay, so I should be able to do these last 5. Yeah. And then I'll be done with watermarking this group. Of course, I've only got at least a dozen other lighters ready to list. I just got to take the photos, and I've got dozens others that I've got maybe a video to make to determine the actual disposition of the lighter. I don't sell them as individual working lighters unless my experience with them tells me that they are working, dependable lighters. So sometimes I got to make a video just to check back in on the disposition of a lighter, fuel it up, see how it's working. That can be kind of frustrating at times when I've maybe already done that, but it's hard. Sometimes I'll try to go back and watch the old video and determine whether I figured it out in the first video, and sometimes I just don't. It's hard to fill a lighter up right now in this video and know whether it's dependable. You really need to use it over a period of time. I just saved that, and I didn't mean to. Now I'm going to have to go check that last one and just see. Yeah, I'll go over here and look at it. I may have to redo that last image. Yeah, I am going to go redo it because it's got the watermark right over that screw, and I'm not trying to obscure that watermark on the screw. That's the one thing in that actual photo that somebody might want to see, or the most likely thing in that photo that somebody would want to see. So we'll redo that one, easy enough. Okay, so now I'll go back and I'll erase all the non-watermarked versions so I don't accidentally upload one of those. Really giving you guys some behind the scenes stuff. I know this is boring, monotonous, not anything exciting about it, but I'm really giving you a behind the scenes look at my process here. Maybe somebody can look at this slow, mundane process and help me out on how to speed it up. So let me go erase the originals. It also helps when I'm erasing these that I've put it down here into the body of the photo rather than up here out of sight somewhere, so that I can see make sure I'm erasing the right ones. At least that makes this part of the job a little bit easier for me. That one was out of sight, so I had to click on that to make sure. It's some of those things, the placement and how that helps later. I didn't really think about like I did win. But I'll say this too, if anybody wants to, I mean, I'll help anybody, whatever you collect. Yeah, sometimes it puts these down at the end, so that's what it does. So I'll just get over here and make sure that they're both there, which both the Watermark versions are. But anybody that wants help with putting their collection of knives or Hot Wheels or model cars, whatever it is that you collect, whatever it is that you want to show off. I have learned a thing or two about putting a website together. I can share a thing or two with you that won't cost you anything. They're just like I'm using the free app to watermark these photos. If you got a little bit of creativity about you, there's usually a free way to do just about anything you do. Just like taking the YouTube photo or YouTube videos, which is how I got into making YouTube videos in the first place, was to embed into my listings, my eBay listings. That was before I even built the page on the website to serve them through. But that app that I use to embed those YouTube videos into the eBay listings, that's a free app. I can't think of, maybe there's an app or two that I've used that I've paid for here and there, a free trial that I extended a little bit longer than that, but I can't think of anything that I even still pay for as far as these kind of tools. There's usually a free tool that'll do what you need it to do. That's the one we need to erase right there. So that should be and I have 13 of those. Okay, I took an extra photo to deal with that when I list it. Every now and then I'll do that rather than going ahead. I didn't really have two more photos that I wanted to take, so I just decided, and I forgot about it till counting those just there, that I would need to. And one thing that I always do, the first 4 photos that I take are basically the same photos from different perspectives, from the different sides. So it's the front and the back with the lighter to the left, and then the front, or the back and the front with the lighter to the right. So I'll just drop one of those from that listing. So that gives us that number. Then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then the 12th one was down here. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So now I can go to uploading, or actually putting the listings on my website, but I'll have to get the laptop out for that. You catch up on the chat here. Okay, back right before old Art joined in. Mark said there was a biker involved in an accident who had his thigh bone replaced with titanium, then took his own bone and made a handle for a knife he forged. Well, that's an interesting thought. Yeah, not quite as gross as a human scrotum, but still, I get what you're saying. I know people do that with deer antlers. I think there are kits you can buy to make a knife out of a deer antler, or the handle of a knife. And Friedrich said, I just try to eat when I'm hungry and let my body give me the signal rather than force myself to eat 3 times or more a day. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. And that ends up in a lot of times me skipping lunch, but I've eaten a big breakfast. And especially if I eat that big breakfast a little bit late. But I'm getting ready to try intermittent fasting, or some version of that, so we'll see. But definitely the standard American diet is, I don't think it's anything that anybody wants to adhere to. So what have you been up to, old ARP? I know you posted some pictures, a picture of a new Drago lighter. I know I saw some others over the weekend on the dependableflame.com group, or maybe one of the other vintage lighters and matches, or one of those. There's a lot of vintage lighter groups on Facebook. If you are not a member of any of these groups, then you can type in Zippo, you can type in let's just type in Zippo. These are groups that I'm a member of. Or at least these are things that I have encountered or frequented, apparently. Maybe even searched for. Now, that Zippo live auctions, that doesn't look familiar to me. That may be just coming up. Zippo Rob Johnson, that is a guy, he's a Facebook seller, or eBay seller, I should say, but also very active in all the Zippo groups. But there's, well, let's just see if we click on Zippo. Here's Zippo group. There's Zippo Good and Bad Sellers. I didn't click on Rob there, did I? Here's Zippo Vintage Lighter Dealer. Why is that? There it is. This is a good group where you can buy and sell other old lighters. There's Zippo Addicts. I mentioned the dependableflame.com group. There's over 1,100 people in that group now. Our buddy Jay Sales, Jonathan Bryan DeGamo, Olarp Henningsen. Got a lot of regulars. That has been shared by Jonathan. See stuff from other groups. I post stuff from here, there, and everywhere. Anyway, definitely try out the Facebook lighter groups if you are a vintage lighter enthusiast. The Facebook lighter groups are the place to be, no doubt. It's awesome. It's close to my family, like for different reasons. Different family doesn't necessarily post pictures of kids. They do that on other apps that are private. So we don't even really use it for family all that much anymore. Facebook for me is really, it's all about the groups, and mostly vintage lighter groups. Okay, I got you. Hey, nothing wrong with that either, Friedrich. But you should feel free anytime you want to post anything related to vintage lighters or lighters at all, whatever. Feel free to post it there in the dependableflame.com group. Would love to see your lighters, but if it's just, you asking something about a lighter you see online or whatever, we're glad to see all that kind of stuff too. Okay, Mark says he's posted some other useful items that make fire other than a Zippo. Yeah, I remember that. That's kind of goes back to me talking about wishing or looking forward to being able to hunt again at some point. Been several years now. Maybe the longest I've gone in my life. I'm trying to think of. I started hunting when I was 8 years old. That was a rule in my family. You had to be 8 years old. And so I started going with my dad when I was 8. And the next year my brother was able to come because he was 8. And we went, and the first year you carried a BB gun. I may have carried a BB gun for a couple of years. I think the second year my dad let me carry a shotgun with him, and I didn't put the shell in it until we sit down. It was just a single shot. And then the next year they had bought me my own single shot shotgun. I carried that for a few years. And then after a while, when I was in my teens, they gave me a 30-30 rifle, lever action rifle. And through all that and all that hunting and being in the woods, I did not see my first deer in the woods until my first live deer in the woods until I was probably 19, 20 years old. Deer just weren't that prevalent around here back at that time. It's much better now, but I didn't hunt from the time that I was about 20 until I was maybe almost 30. Well, no, I guess I would have been in my late 20s. So yeah, maybe I've gone this long without hunting once before. But from the time that then around 2000, got a call from my brother. A couple of uncles had a lease down around that Wanette, Oklahoma. Pretty much due where our family had grown up, our ancestors had lived. Place that my Uncle Paul, who passed back in 2008 or 2019, he would tell me stories. He remembered them going from Asher or Conawa and them taking a horse-drawn wagon all the way to Sulphur and back, or even further. And apparently my grandfather was a sharecropper. They moved to New Mexico at one point. He knew all kinds of stories that my dad didn't know, or that my dad never told me, but my dad was about 10 years younger than that uncle. Anyway, I got off on a tangent there. I'm not even sure what I was talking about. Mark was talking about I was talking about making fire and all the hunting. That's one thing about it, though. There weren't very many deer there weren't very many deer in the woods back then. But once I started hunting again around 2000, and that's what I was saying. My brother called, wanted me to go down there with him for a few days, and I did. We both shot small bucks, and it was really cool. That was the first deer I killed, and I was in my late 20s. And I've shot several deer since then. It used to seem like a disaster if I wasn't killing a deer because we ate so much of it. And I really look forward to being able to get out and spend that time again. But Friedrich says, I've been more frustrated on the Dunhill flint quality drop. Have you heard anything about that? Have you confirmed that with anybody? Or, I mean, it seems clear to me And I know you're not the only person who has voiced to me, Friedrich, that that seems to be the case. But it seems kind of many other, I guess, um, well, you look at Eastwad Doom Flam's videos, Jad, he seems to be using all kinds of flint, all kinds of vintage flint even, in their vintage containers and all. So I don't know, maybe it's not as much of an issue for some people as others. Different people get different flints. But yeah, I really relied on those Dunhill Blues. And I just wonder, I hadn't really heard that much about it other than us talking about it on here or in the comments of a video that I made. Yeah, that real bright color blue. It's like the immediately made me go, "This something off here," and then the spark just not the same. And I only made the one purchase, but it was one purchase of two sleeves of them from the same seller. Um, so, I mean, I don't. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the person that sold me. I'm not saying that that was wrong of them to sell me those. Who would know? You get Dunhill Blues. How do you know that they've been changed unless you use them? But even then, I mean, they were Dunhill Blue. They were marketed as that. They're marked as that. I guess it's up to the consumer to use them, and if they're not up to snuff, then. But that's certainly been my experience. I don't think they're the same flints at all, Friedrich. Anything else exciting going on in the world of vintage petrol lighters? Anything we need to talk about before I get off here and hopefully get some lighters listed for sale? I need to make some money. There's old ARP's lighter there that we were talking about, the new Drago lighter. That looks very similar. I'm trying to remember. I've never had one of these Drago lighters, but I've got another lighter in there. I wonder if I've got that close by handy. Yeah, definitely not identical, but similar. These, this is a Fudor. It's a lighter that my son gave me. Not all that long ago, sometime in the last couple of years. So it's similar. It's got a similar snuffer, got a similar, not identical, but similar file wheel and windscreen setup. It's got screws on the bottom rather than a slip case like the Fudor is. But their appearance is similar. Yeah, there you go. There you go. You said that before I even pulled it out, didn't you? I should have looked down there. So now that's something I hadn't paid attention to, Friedrich. So I guess Dunhill's still in business. Have they maintained? Have they been in business the whole time, or have they come back? Has there been a direct line between the Dunhill that made the old petrol lighters and the Dunhill that still exists? I'd be interested to learn what you find out if you do write them. Yeah, that's it. All right. Well, I sent a text before I started this, letting anybody who might need to get a hold of me know how to get a hold of me, but they decided to call instead. So I'm going to go ahead and take off. About time to go anyway. Say they've been in business in London the whole time. Very interesting. Well, thank you, Friedrich. Olar, Naphtha, Mike. There weren't a whole lot here today, but I appreciate you coming and keeping me company while I watermark those photos, and we will get back together to talk about old lighters again soon. I wish I had this fueled up and I would ignite it for you, but I don't. Until next time.